What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And I thought, since I have been for the last month looking for a car in a very low price range, that I could give you guys some advice on how to do it, because I've had a ton of experience being poor and I think this might be helpful for you. So if you guys are new to my channel, make sure you click subscribe. I give frugal and financial advice, plus you follow along on my life and follow my story of paying off my debt and becoming financially independent. So, number one, if you are looking for a car, the first thing you do is tap into your social network. I don't mean just like Facebook. I mean, you can post on Facebook and see if any of your friends can help you out. But what I mean is actually contact your friends, your coworkers, your family. Because sometimes they'll have an extra car. They'll let you borrow it, or they will sell it to you on the cheap. Example of that is I had a coworker my senior year of college who bought her boyfriend a car, but he didn't like it because it was like an old man car and he refused to drive it. So she sold it to me for the exact price that she got it for. She kind of charmed the guy she got it from, so got it for a cheap price, and then I paid the cheap price to her. Also, talk to your neighbors. It depends on where you live, but if you're somewhere like I live, I even live in the city and I know my neighbors. Have your neighbors just look for cars in your price range as you go around. I found that they're good at letting you know, even contacting the people who have those cars themselves, or offering to give you a ride to go look at a car. So try that out. Also, one of the most expensive things that I have encountered is when I do find a car, say on Facebook or Craigslist, it's getting an Uber to go look at the car. And a lot of times it's like $60 round trip, 80 sometimes, depending on where the car is. So that adds up really quickly. So if you tap into your social network, then, just ask your friends if they'd be willing to give you a ride. Give them 20 bucks for gas money. It's a lot cheaper than an Uber. And then number two, when you are buying a car at a very low price range, there's so many different factors, and it's very easy to make a mistake, or to just get overwhelmed and not be able to make a decision on what one to buy. When you look at Craigslist and say you're looking under $1,500 or under $1,750, there's a lot of junk on there, and they're going to be high mileage, they're going to be wrecked, they're going to have no title, or some other weird thing like that, right? And obviously you want something that's going to be legal, that's going to be dependable, and it's difficult to balance all these things. So you need to become familiar with the car brands and know which cars and models are known for getting high mileage and which ones have inexpensive repairs, because some cars, like, say for example, I saw a ton of Volvos on there that are fairly cheap, and I know they're good cars, but I also know that their repairs are very expensive, and I don't foresee that I'm going to be in a situation soon where I can put a lot of money into repairs on a car, so I avoided the Volvos. And then of course price, because prices fluctuate wildly down in that bottom price range. You can have two cars exactly the same condition, exactly the same kind of car. One person will sell it for $500, one for $1,500. But also keep in mind that at that bottom price range, people are just trying to get rid of these cars, so they are somewhat negotiable on that price. The third thing, number three, don't buy a bad investment. I have been tempted, I've been so frustrated by Ubering around and then finding out the car is crap and just wanting something that runs so I can go get groceries. Don't do that. As much as it's tempting, don't do that. You're spending basically every penny you have to get transportation. Don't buy a car like the one I test drove the other day that had the engine light on and it was jerking when it idled and kept stalling out. Just because it runs. It might run for a day or it might run for 2 months, but don't spend $1,500, $2,000 on it, because think about it in terms of how long it's going to take you to get that much money again. And you're just going to be screwed if it dies. The point is, you can't afford at this price point to make a bad decision. So you have to analyze and strategize every car that you see on there. And one way that you can do this, oh, and I want to mention first, I personally would prefer to buy from individuals rather than dealers, because I found that very low price range dealer to be very untrustworthy, but that's just my experience. But then on the other hand, you have people who have these very low priced cars, and I would say that just to watch out, because in most situations, they've kept that car for a long time and really worn it to the point where it's not really worth anything, and maybe it has mechanical problems. Because if they've kept it that long to the point that it has that many miles and is in that condition, they probably only stopped driving it because it had some kind of problem that is, not fixable or not worth fixing. So there is one tool that you should go for. Now, I religiously, and this is number 4, I religiously used Carfax until I had a problem last month. I have always relied on Carfax for a vehicle history report. It shows any wrecks, it shows when it's been registered before, it shows most of the maintenance history on the car. But I looked at a car last month that had a completely clean Carfax, and I thought, this is great. But just to check it out, I also took it to the dealer and had it looked at. Well, the problem is that it needed $6,000 worth of repairs and was just not in good shape. And the reason there's a difference between the actual condition of the car and the Carfax is that, number one, the Carfax does not give all of the vehicle history information. It's only what's picked up by a DMV or by it being serviced at a dealership that reports to Carfax, which is not all of them. So while it appeared to be fine, it didn't take into condition the actual condition of the car. It didn't take into condition that it looked like a Yeti had been living inside it, and it didn't take into consideration that the car had blown head gaskets. How would it have known that, right? Unless it was taken to a dealer and had them repaired, and then it would say that the head gaskets were replaced. So when you're looking into a Carfax, it only shows specific things, which can be helpful, but it's not really a tool that will help you make a decision on the car. It might help you rule one out, but it's not going to give you all the information you need for a decision. Personally, and this is what I did with the second car, don't waste the $40 on a Carfax. Just actually take it to a dealer. It's going to be between $100 and $125, which I know is a lot of money, but this is one of those situations where you're going to have to spend money to protect yourself in the end. You're going to have to spend $100 or $125 on this to have peace of mind that this car is mechanically sound, right? Because you don't want to get into a car that seems like it is and then find out it actually has some sort of major problem, because then you're screwed and you don't have any options because you spent all your money. Now, there is one thing that I think that you should look into, that Carfax actually runs, but it's a different program. It's literally just called My Carfax. And My Carfax is a website that Carfax has, but it's free, and instead of running a vehicle history report, it's set up as a garage. It's called like My Carfax Garage. You run into you put the VIN numbers for your cars on there, and it does show you the service history on there. So you don't have to pay for the Carfax to do it if you do it this way. And I found that to be just as beneficial as getting the actual Carfax, and it's free. Not to mention that, like, I've sold some old used cars, and I always wonder, I was like, where are those cars at now? And it's entertaining that I can leave them in the garage, and then anytime they're serviced at a dealership, or or Valvoline, anything that reports to Carfax, it'll show up on there too. So I can be like, oh, my old car's still running. So anyway, give that a try. It's My Carfax, and then you just enter the VIN number in the garage. I hope that has helped. The only other piece of advice I have is just to strap up your shoes and walk. It depends on where you are, of course. I've lived places where that's not an option, but if you're in a outlying residential area in a city like I live in, yeah, things are going to be spread out 3 or 4 miles at least to the grocery store, but it saves you a lot of money until you find something. Instead of taking a $15 round trip Uber ride to the grocery store, I walk to Kroger, I get my groceries, and then I call an Uber and I have them pull it back, and it's like $6.50. All right, so it sucks. I know it does, but you want to give you want to give yourself time to figure out the best option for you before you make a purchase, and don't just buy a car because it's a car and it runs. Make sure that it's a good investment, a good price, and that it's going to be worth the money that you're putting into it. So I will have another video up next week. Like I said, I'll be back to posting weekly, and I hope you guys found this useful. I know this is most of the car search videos I found online aren't talking about real poor people and that real low price range. So I hope somebody out there finds this useful. Take a moment to like and subscribe. I will be posting weekly videos and give you guys updates as I turn around my financial situation and work on my goals of being financially independent. Thanks for watching.